All right, shalom, 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 brothers and sisters. We're back again. This is actually part 4b. I might merge both of these together, but just for the sake of it, let's label it 4b, and we're gonna continue back. We left off talking about the no man can die for another man's sins, and that was the statement up here, right? We pointed out in Isaiah 53 that this suffering servant, whoever he may be, right, even if he is Israel, he is dying, or he was wounded for the transgressions of other people. So if we want to make Israel be one person, then that would make sense. But we know that's not one person, right? So we know this must speak to something that's greater than our own mindset, right? Now, having said that, let's get back. We made mention of Shemaiah trying to, or not trying, but him and the Most High having the conversation about your people, right? And so the Most High honored the covenant. Now, I want to add to that. I want to go to where it says in the Torah that the Most High would visit the iniquities of the fathers upon the children to the third and fourth generation. So I'm not saying specifically that the judgments are death, but then in some cases they are actually death, right? Especially if a child is born with some type of incurable disease, you know. And there's been many cases where children have died, in birth. But so the father who brought that child into the world, who was responsible, who was the seed carrier, that judgment of that individual was passed down to that child. Also, I want to add to is that in Exodus chapter 20 and 5, right? Let's look at it real quick. We know the Decalogue, right? So 25 says, uh, "Thou shalt not bow thine thyself to them nor serve them, for I, Yah, am a jealous Elohim, visiting the iniquities of the fathers upon the children to the third and fourth generation of them that hate me." So that's the judgment of the fathers down to the children, right? Now, that also explains how we ended up. We all know Deuteronomy 28, right? So we end up in captivity because of our forefathers' sins, right? Leviticus 26, we ended up into captivity because of our forefathers' sins, right? We are reaping the judgment of our fathers, right? The visiting of the iniquities of the fathers upon the children, right? So we can see how that's possible, right? Okay. In some cases, as I stated, some cases that will bring death. It has brought death, right? However, I want to point this out here, Jeremiah 31:28. As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to save this one here because I have this one in another place. So let's kind of skip that, and we're going to put that in like right here in my notes, right? And we'll deal with that. We'll deal with that there. Okay, now the next piece in this is states in this dissertation that in First John is quoted, "We have an advocate with the Father." Okay. Uh, okay. It says here, "We know already that no man can die for our sins, but there is an atonement." So we kind of proved that wrong because we proved that Isaiah 53 is a prime example, prophetic utterance that someone would die for the iniquity of Israel. Whoever that is to you, that means that a man did die, or or if you want to consider the nation died for the sins of the nation. Okay, but that's a whole nother lesson. But that's how that is viewed in the eyes of Torah only. That suffering servant is Israel. Okay, so I'll let you have that one. But at the same time, I disagree. Okay, but let's continue. So I have a note here. I put we already. So I said we already addressed that about the man dying, but I addressed it again. Okay. Now, what I want to say is here is that a lot of times we get confused. Future prophecies, we confuse future prophecies with the now. So this is why I want to bring this point out, because this is going to answer two questions, right? So in Ezekiel 18:20-22, this is what the comment is here, or what this passage is. It says, "The soul that sins shall die," right? "The son shall not bear the iniquity of the father, neither shall the father bear the iniquity of the son. The righteous of the righteous shall be upon him, the wickedness of the wicked shall be upon him. But if the wicked will turn from his sins that he has committed, and guard all my statutes, and do that which is lawful and right, he shall surely live, and he shall not die." That's true, right? But at the present time, we're going to show you something in a minute, right? All his transgressions, right, that he has committed, they shall not be mentioned unto him. In his righteousness that he has done, he shall live. Have I any pleasure in all that the wicked should die, says Yah, and not that he should return from his ways and live? Atonement is verse 21. Okay, so I agree and disagree, okay? Because this passage, right, goes with Jeremiah 31, which is the kingdom age. So let's kind of pull it up real quick. So go to Jeremiah, because it's the same language, right? Okay, Jeremiah 31 and 28. So let's go to 28, Jeremiah 31, 28. Scroll down, and it says pretty much the same thing, okay? "It shall come to pass that, like as I had watched over them to pluck up and to break down and to throw down and to destroy and to afflict, so I will watch over them to build and to plant, says Yah. In those days they shall say no more, the fathers have eaten sour grapes, and the children's teeth are set on edge. But everyone," right, "shall die for his own iniquity. Every man that eateth the sour grape, his teeth shall be set on edge." Then immediately following that, he says, "Behold, the days come," says Yahweh, "that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Yehudah." Now, I covered this new thing in a previous actually, I didn't get to that part yet, but new means renewed, right? Nothing brand new. Kodesh. Okay, we'll talk about that a little later on down in this particular sharing. All right, so that every man will die for his own sins is talking about in the kingdom age, right? That Ezekiel 18 and Jeremiah 31:31 both basically are talking about during the kingdom age, right? If that was not the case, then we wouldn't see conditions we see in our world today amongst Israelites, right? A brand new baby coming out the womb that haven't transgressed, he should be able to come out of his mama's womb, and he should be on top of the world, right? But he inherits the sins of his father, right? Okay, everybody knows that. Let's get back. Okay, so I said also, see Ezekiel, I see it as a parallel with Jeremiah 31. So I read that in the kingdom age, because we see today that sins of our fathers are impacting us even to this very day. Once again, Yahshua died to reinstate us back to the priesthood. That's what Yoshiyahu 53 is this 53 is and points two words, right? So that's what that is. So when Yahshua came, he came to die to reinstate Israel back into the position of the original covenant, which is not for the sons of Aharon to be priests, but for the whole nation. That's why we brought out that example in the previous lesson about the Malak Sadak, or Melchizedek, as some people say, right? Sounds funny to me, right? But that's what people say it. Okay, so that's what that represents. Now, he also gives us Deuteronomy 6:25. It shall be our righteousness if we guard to do all these commands before Yahuwah Elohim as he has commanded us. Okay, I agree to that, right? So righteousness does not come from somebody. Yahshua didn't die to let you get a pass from obedience to the Most High Yah. He didn't teach that, right? Neither did the only person that taught that was Paul. He kind of taught something close to that, right? You could kind of get the implication from listening to Paul's teaching, and that's what he taught, right? Okay, so no, righteousness is obedience to Yah's law, right? Exactly right. Okay, now Try to say Deuteronomy 18:18 is Yahusha. Okay. All right. Okay. Here we go. He says, I will raise up a prophet from among you. So this is Deuteronomy 18:18. So let's just read it. Okay. Deuteronomy 18:18. I will raise up a prophet from among you, your brother and like unto thee. I will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them as all that I shall command him, right? So this actually is twofold, but the literal of this is actually Yahshua, right? I kind of mentioned that here in my notes, right? Okay. Comment says what? I will raise him up a prophet, okay? He says, and he shall speak unto them, and all that I shall command him. Okay. So I disagree and I agree. And I'll tell you what I disagree about, that this is only making a reference to Yahshua, the son of Nun. I see it as twofold, and I'll tell you why in a minute, okay? Because the name transliteration named Joshua is Yahshua, which means Yah is our salvation, right? And how is Yah our salvation? Through the book of the law. That's what he says in Joshua. This book of the law shall not depart from thy lips, but thou shalt meditate upon it day and night. Thou may observe to do all that's written in the book of the law, and thou shalt have good success. Something like that. I might have muffed it up, but you get the point. I'm trying to get my points in quickly, and so I can get to the next part. Okay. I disagree with the passage not to speak in the 42 generations later. Okay, that passage is not speaking the 42 generations later. Right. What one have to do is think, what did this mean to those who heard it, right? So the Israelites that heard that, they wasn't looking 42 generations later. That's a fact, right? They were looking in their day. So this person that this represents was twofold. To them, it was Yahshua, the son of Nun, right? But to those people looking forward, right, it represented the man who would come in the name of Yah, as known as Yah's salvation, which came through 42 generations. So it's twofold, right? So to think, what did this mean to them? This is what we have to look at. They knew Shemaiah was about to die, so who would carry them into the promised land? Yahshua, the son of Nun, right? However, like I said, it's not a coincidence that they both were named Yahshua. Also, we must bear in mind that many prophecies have dual meanings, aka literal and spiritual. As examples so often used to compare Deuteronomy 28 to the transatlantic slave trade, right? So we compare Deuteronomy 28 to the transatlantic slave trade as a spiritual fulfillment of Deuteronomy 28. So if we can do that for Deuteronomy 28 and see, oh, we're the transatlantic slave trade, that's fulfillment of that. How come we can't look at this passage and say, oh, well, that literally happened? Because we know historically, literally, Israel went into multiple captivities that could seemingly prove that this prophecy was one time shot fulfilled, right? Okay. I'm sure those that went into Babylonian captivity said, oh, this is us. I'm sure those that went into Assyrian captivity said, oh, this is us. Those that went into the various captivities in Judges chapter 3 could say, oh, this was us, right? So, and then the Israelites that went back to Egypt, literally, right, under the Romans and Greeks and Assyrians, they could say, oh, this is us, right? So we can see that Deuteronomy 28 is a multiple a prophecy that it was fulfilled in multiple times. So how is it that we cannot see that this man, right, that prophet that would be raised up, that happened to have the same name, couldn't also be a reference to someone in our day, right, in the day 2,000 years ago, and someone that will return 2,000 years later with the same name, right? Is it a coincidence? I think not. So we have to be fair with the scriptural text. If we're going to use Deuteronomy 28 to refer that to us, then we can't be disingenuous to this passage about the son being raised up among the brethren couldn't possibly be Yahshua. Just like we do the 400 years captivity, we take claim to the 400 years that's talking about America. Well, we got other Israelites that's been in other captivities, right? That they could say, oh, we fulfilled 400 years here, right? So, I mean, we never went and lived during those days. So how do we know they didn't have a 400-year clock? Okay. So prophecies can be dual and have multiple, not just dual, but it could be repetitive prophecies being fulfilled, right? Okay. Now, Yahshua, okay, so he says here, that's not so. Yahshua violates the commandments. He says in the book of John, right? John chapter 13:34, a new commandment I give to you, that you love one another as I have loved you, that you so love one another. Now, we know, as I said earlier, right? My point is this word new, right? Let's look at it. John 13:34, right? This word new doesn't mean something that's never been done before. When we say new, we think, oh, in American mindset, we think, oh, this is something brand new. No, it's not something brand new, right? So John 13 and John, I should say John. I got Matthew here. John 13, right? And 13. And let's look at the Greek. Since this is in the Greek text, let's go to my Strong's numbers here. Okay, 13:13. It says, let's see, no, 13:34. I got the wrong verse here. Pardon me 1 second there, brothers and sisters. 13:34. A new commandment. So here's the word new, right? All right, kanos, new, freshness, fresh. There you go. So it uses the same thing, fresh, like regenerate. How about that? Fresh. So this commandment, he's not saying, see, this is something we need to learn in English, right? Even in the Greeks, new doesn't mean something brand spanking new. It just means refresh. It's like taking your clothes and putting it in the wash machine or put it in the cleaners and you refresh it and you get your garments cleaned, refreshed, and you wear them, and then you get them dirty again. Then you put some Tide, get scrubbing, a little dab of do, as they say, and then you wash the garments, you dry it, whatever, and then you put it back on. So this new is not talking about something brand new. It's talking about something that's renewed. So Yahshua knows Torah, right? So he wasn't saying, "Oh, love is a new commandment," because if he knows Torah, he already knows that love is not a new commandment, right? You go to, what is it, Leviticus 19? Yahshua, he knew what the law says about love, right? Was it Leviticus 19:18? Is it? Okay, so thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I am Yahuwah. So we know here that love is not a new commandment. So Yahshua wasn't saying it's a new commandment. He was saying it's a renewal to you because you become legalistic and you think you keeping Torah, but you violating your brothers and sisters in his walk, right? You acting like you've arrived and you beating people over the head because you think you got it, but then they don't have it like you have it, okay? You're not walking in Torah, because the portion of Torah is walking in love, right? Not walking in self-righteousness or braggadociousness, right? So no, Yahshua didn't create a new commandment. So now look at my notes here, and we're gonna close this second. I got 1 minute left. Boy, I'm talking fast trying to get it in, but I got 1 minute left. Okay, so the word new is misleading. In the Hebrew word, they comprehend the new just like it's used for new moon. It's not something they never heard before, but a renewal, right? Look at the word in Jeremiah 31:31. It's the word kadash. You can look it up, 23:19, which root word is 23:18, rebuild. If that's not profound in our day, right? We have so many Israelites saying they keep the law, but they don't have any love for each other, right? So love is a renewed mindset. You gotta have a renewed mindset. Okay, I'm keeping Yah's laws, but I'm keeping Yah's laws with the spirit of Yah, right? Not with the letter. Okay. Now Paul says something like that in one of his letters. The spirit, the letter killeth, but the spirit gives life. That's what he's making reference to, right? that point there. I'm going to pause here because I'm at my 20 minutes marker. So we'll come back into the B. I guess we'll just make it part 5. All right. Shalom.